The city begins before the sun rises, glowing faintly as distant lights flicker across wet pavement. The world moves slowly here, as if the morning itself hesitates to wake those who suffer. In the silence of this early hour, a single car rolls into view. It hits footpath, its engine quiet, its driver alone. John Wick grips the wheel with a steadiness that seems unnatural, a calm that hides a storm buried deep beneath the surface. But this moment is not about the storm. This moment is about memory. Wounded John steps out of the car, the cold morning air brushing against his face. He doesn't react. He doesn't shiver. Instead, he walks toward the footpath, sits down there, and played a video of his girlfriend who passed away. He play her video on his phone, which he have recorded. He start looking at it, the place where he once stood with the woman who changed his life. He holds a phone in his hand, the final message she left for him playing softly, a voice filled with warmth, love, and the last traces of life. Her name was Helen, the only person who ever saw the man behind the legend. She loved him without fear, without judgment, without hesitation. And John loved her with a depth he didn't know he had. John went faint. When he loses consciousness, the story shifts into a flashback, taking us back to where everything originally began. John wake up in the morning, 6 a.m. He turn off alarm and went down to have a cup of coffee. We see John having flashbacks of her GF. Her illness took her slowly, like a cruel whisper that grew louder each day. John watched her fade, powerless to stop it. He fought every battle in his life with precision, ruthlessness, and an unbreakable will, yet this was the one fight he could not win. When she died, the world around him lost color. The warmth she brought to him vanished, replaced by a silence that pressed against his chest, stealing breath after breath. After Helen's funeral, everyone slowly drifted away, leaving John standing alone by her grave. The cemetery grew quiet, the kind of silence that presses on your chest. From a distance, a figure watched him, still, respectful, waiting. Eventually, the man stepped forward. It was John's old friend. He had come only for one reason, to check on John. He approached gently, as if afraid to disturb the weight of John's grief. "John, how are you holding up?" he asked softly, his voice carrying both concern and familiarity. In that moment, it was clear he wasn't just another mourner. He was a friend who had come to see how John was doing in his darkest hour. John asks Marcus what he is really up to. He reply, "Just checking up on his old friend." They both shake hands, and Marcus says goodbye to John. He returns home after visiting her grave, his steps heavy but controlled. His doorbell rings. He opens his front door. We see him receiving a package from his girlfriend who is not with John anymore. The moment he sees the handwriting, the world seems to pause. Helen had arranged something to arrive after her passing, something she hoped would keep John from collapsing into the emptiness she feared for him. Inside the box is a small puppy with soft fur and eyes too innocent for the life John once lived. Attached is a letter written in Helen's graceful handwriting. Her words speak gently. She wanted him to find something to care for, something to remind him that he still had a heart capable of love. She wanted him to find a way to keep going and find his peace. John looks at the puppy, Daisy. For the first time since Helen's death, he feels something shift inside him. Not joy, not peace, but the faintest spark of life. He feeds Daisy. He speaks to her softly, even though he's not used to speaking at all. John had received the little puppy as a final gift from Helen, and that night he treated Daisy with gentle care. He laid a soft towel on the floor beside his bed, making a small, warm place for her to sleep. After checking on her one last time, he turned off the lights and lay down, the quiet room holding a calm he hadn't felt in a long time. By the next morning, even before the alarm could ring, Daisy was already awake, pressing against his arm as though claiming him as her own. John closes his eyes and allows himself to feel that small warmth. Helen's gift begins its quiet work. John opened the main door of his house, the little puppy ran out. John quickly understands where she is up to. He makes breakfast for both of them. He takes Daisy outside. He drives his car, Daisy sitting beside him in the passenger seat. Slowly, in tiny pieces, life becomes tolerable. One morning he takes Daisy in his car, his cherished 1969 Mustang, Daisy sitting beside him in the passenger seat. Slowly, in tiny pieces, life becomes tolerable. He went to a gas station. As he fills the tank, a group of young men pull in. Among them is Iosif Tarasov, the son of a powerful crime lord who believes the entire world is his playground. He sees John's car and approaches with a smirk, asking how much John wants for it. John simply says, "It's not for sale." The words strike Iosif like an insult. He leans closer, repeating the question like he expects a different answer. Again, John tells him no. The young man doesn't understand the weight of the man he's talking to. He laughs, curses under his breath, but leaves with a glare that promises trouble. Before going home, John drifts his car to relieve his anger. John drives
Later
home,
that night,
unaware
Daisy
that trouble
stirs.
is
She
already
senses
on its
something.
way.
John opens his eyes to the sound of footsteps, muffled whispers, and breaking glass. The intruders strike fast. They beat him, kicking him to the floor, overwhelming him through numbers, not skill. Daisy runs toward him, barking, scared. John tries to reach for her, but a blow knocks him down again. Iosif watches with the cold arrogance of someone who believes every action has no consequence. And then, in a moment that seals the fate of everyone in that room, Iosif orders the dog killed. A single sound breaks the air, followed by a silence far heavier than before. By the time the young men leave with the car, John Wick lies on the floor, bruised, bleeding, and surrounded by the echoes of the life that had almost saved him. He crawls toward Daisy, lifting her small body into his arms. His breath shudders. Something inside him fractures, something deep, something final. The next morning comes slowly. John forces himself up, his body aching, his mind blank. He buries the dog beside the house, not because the world allows him to feel grief, but because Helen's gift deserves that final respect. He cleans the blood on his floor from the last night incident. We see young Iosif driving John Wick's stolen Mustang into a luxury car dealership. He steps out of the car with a smug smile, proud of what he thinks is a great catch. The dealership owner walks over to inspect the car, but the moment he recognizes it, his expression darkens. He asks Iosif where the car came from. Iosif casually tells him that he stole it and that he killed the dog that came with it. The owner freezes for a second, then his anger explodes. He punches Iosif square in the face. "Get out," he snaps. "Get out of my dealership, now!" After that, John went to car dealership and asked the man about his car. He told him that Vigo's son bring the car here, but he didn't entertain him, so he took it somewhere. John tell him that he needs a ride. John drive back home. Later, we see Vigo on the phone, his voice sharp and demanding. He's calling the owner of the car dealership, furious, wanting to know why his son just got punched. The dealership owner doesn't hesitate. Calmly but firmly, he tells Vigo the truth. His son didn't just take a car, he stole John Wick's Mustang and killed his dog. Vigo listens stunned as the gravity of his son's actions sinks in. Now we see Vigo walking down from stairs. One of his business manager tell him that a party had agreed to Vigo's trims. He congrats Vigo, but Vigo is thinking about his son and asks his man, "Have you seen my son?" In the meantime, we see his son coming to meet him at his hotel. Vigo offers his son a drink. The moment he had a sip, Vigo punched Yosef in the stomach and asked what he had done. Vigo told his son that his action did not anger me, but you chose the wrong person to deal with. Yosef say he is nobody. His father then tell him that nobody is John Wick. Inside, silence fills the home again, but this time it is not simply empty, it is dangerous. John walks to the basement door. He stares at it for a long moment, wood and metal, hiding a past he promised to abandon forever. Slowly he pulls the boards away. Dust falls. The air turns cold. Beneath the floor lies a foundation hiding weapons, coins, passports, remnants of the man he once was. He breaks the concrete with a sledgehammer. Each swing echoes louder, harder, sharper. With each strike, he returns to the person he buried, not because he wants to, but because he has no choice left. When the last chunk of concrete falls, John sees the arsenal beneath. Guns he once used with surgical precision, ammunition stored with obsessive care, gold coins representing favors, debts, secrets. He takes a breath, long and steady. The man the criminal world feared has awakened. When Vigo Tarasov learns what his son has done, his expression darkens, not with anger, but with dread. He explains to Yosef that the man he assaulted wasn't just a former employee. John Wick was the man he relied on to eliminate the very worst the underworld produced. John Wick was the man who accomplished the impossible task that built Vigo's empire. John Wick was the man even seasoned killers refused to speak about openly. Yosef tries to shrug it off. It was just a dog, he says, completely blind to the weight of the name he has provoked. Vigo grabs him, rage and fear mixing in his voice. That wasn't just a dog, he says. That was John Wick's dog. Yosef tells Vigo that he can make it right, told Yosef that he can't do anything. Vigo called John to talk things out, but John hung up on him. From that moment on, everyone understands the truth. John Wick is coming, and there is nothing anyone can do to stop him.
Vigo Tarasov wastes no time. His empire built its reputation on brutality, but even brutality has limits, and John Wick is the line no one crosses. He gathers his trusted men, veterans who survived gunfights, betrayals, and wars, and yet none of them want to hear Wick's name spoken aloud. Even among killers, there are legends. John Wick is one of the few that are real. Vigo places a contract on John's head, hoping to stop the storm before it reaches his family. But deep inside, he knows the truth. John Wick is not someone you stop. He is someone you avoid, someone you give distance, someone you pray never comes for you. But it's too late for prayer. While Vigo fortifies his world with armed men and fortified rooms, John quietly prepares his. He moves through his home with purpose, loading magazines, cleaning weapons, tightening straps, checking armor. He does not smile, he does not rage, he simply prepares. Every action is a memory, muscle trained, instincts sharpened, a past reawakening. When night falls, John stands in his living room. The quiet is thick. The world feels small. He waits, not because he's uncertain, but because he knows the first move won't be his. And he's right. Vigo sends a group of elite assassins to John's home, men trained to kill without hesitation, men who believe they've seen everything. They approach the house silently, splitting into positions, forming a tactical circle. They think they're hunting a man. They are wrong. They are entering the domain of John Wick. Inside, John feels the air shift. A floor creaks, a faint shadow moves behind frosted glass. He breathes deeply and lets instinct guide him. When the window shatters and the first intruder enters, John drops him instantly, like lightning, precise, explosive, but silent in purpose. The assault squad rushes in. John moves through them like a ghost with perfect aim, perfect timing, perfect control. Every shot is final. Every step is calculated. These intruders came expecting a retired man with grief. Instead, they find a weapon once buried, now unleashed without restraint. Within minutes, the room falls still. Bodies lie across the floor. Smoke drifts upward. John's breathing is steady, unbroken, as though this violence is nothing more than a muscle he hasn't used in years, a muscle that remembers everything. Meanwhile, the doorbell rings at John's house. John opens the door to find a police officer standing there, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. The officer explains that the neighbors have complained about strange noises coming from the house, and he just wants to make sure everything is okay. He tilts his head slightly and glances past John, noticing the chaos inside, but he doesn't ask. John keeps his calm and says quietly, "Just handling some business." The officer studies him for a moment, understanding more than he lets on. With a small nod, he steps back. "All right then," he says, and without another word, he turns and leaves, letting John close the door behind him. John calls a special number. When the man on the other end answers, he speaks calmly. "I'm guessing you'll need some cleanup." A strange professionalism follows. Cleaners in tailored suits, carrying tools, tarps, solvents. They work silently, removing all traces of the carnage. One of them nods respectfully at John. They all know him. They all know why he's moving again. Vigo is speaking quietly with one of his trusted Russian associates. There is tension in his voice as he instructs the man to increase the contract amount on John, higher than anything they've offered before. His associate hesitates, confused. Then Vigo gives another order. "Put Iosif in the Red Circle." The Red Circle, the nightclub Vigo owns, is one of the most heavily guarded places under his control. The friend finally asks, "Why hide him there?" Vigo's expression darkens. "For John," he says quietly, "because I know he's coming for my son." The room falls silent. Both men understand exactly what that means. John Wick is on his way, and nothing will stand in his path. Vigo arrives at Marcus's home late in the evening, desperation written across his face. Marcus opens the door with calm familiarity, as though he already suspects the reason for Vigo's visit. They sit across from each other, the room quiet except for the faint sounds of the city outside. Vigo gets straight to the point. He's offering $2 million for Marcus to kill John Wick. Marcus studies him for a moment, then asks in a steady voice, "Is this an exclusive contract?" Vigo shakes his head. "No, it's open." A long silence follows. Marcus doesn't show it on his face, but inside he's weighing the request. John isn't just any target. He's Marcus's old friend, someone he has respected and watched over for years. Finally, Marcus gives a small nod and says, "Consider your work done." Vigo exhales, relief washing over him. He places a hand on Marcus's shoulder and appreciates him with a grateful nod, trusting he has secured the one man skilled enough to take on John Wick. John enters quietly, moving through the doors of the Continental with the calm presence of a man everyone recognizes, whether they want to or not. The staff straighten as he passes, greeting him with the respect reserved for legends. And in many ways, that's exactly what he is, a ghost from another lifetime walking among them again. As John makes his way through the lobby, a woman steps into his path. It's Miss Perkins, a fellow assassin, sharp eyes, sharper smile. She gives him a quick, confident nod. "Hello, John. Good seeing you," she says, though there's a hint of something darker beneath her polite tone. After all, every assassin in the city already knows there's a contract on John's head. John gives a small nod back, saying nothing, and continues toward the reception desk. The concierge greets him with polite sincerity, his voice smooth and
Good
steady
evening,
as ever.
Mr. Wick. It's been a while. John simply nods, because tonight his silence speaks louder than words. He takes his key, heads to his room, and sets his weapons carefully on the table. Tonight he sleeps with intention. Tomorrow the hunt begins. Across the city, Vigo learns that the squad he sent has been wiped out. Not defeated, wiped out, erased. His fear becomes visible now, as if carved into his face. He knows John will come for his son, and nothing can stop him. Iosef hides behind armed guards, behind money, behind the illusion of safety. He believes he can outrun a man like Wick. He doesn't understand that John isn't hunting him out of anger. John Wick isn't acting out of emotion anymore. What drives him now is something colder, deeper, a purpose sharpened by loss and dishonor. The next night, John walks into the Continental's bar, the soft golden lights reflecting off polished marble and quiet conversations. He moves with purpose, focused, unreadable. As he crosses the room, he notices Miss Perkins sitting at the bar. Once an ally, now driven by money. She offers him a smile, her words wrapped in false friendliness. "Good to see you, John," she says lightly. But John sees straight through her. He always has. He gives her the shortest nod and keeps walking. He didn't come here for her. He heads straight to Winston, the owner of the Continental. John doesn't waste time. "Where is Iosef?" he asks. Winston looks at him carefully, almost sadly. "John, you know the language we speak here. Are you truly returning to this life? Have you thought it through, every detail, every consequence? You got out once, and if you dip even a pinky back into this world, something might drag you back into its depths." John answers none of Winston's warnings. He simply repeats, steady and cold, "Where is he?" Winston sighs, his voice firm. "You know the rules, Jonathan. No business is to be conducted on Continental grounds." Meanwhile, far from the calm of the hotel, Vigo's men manage to locate John. They report back, telling Vigo that John is inside the Continental and that one of their contractors is willing to break the hotel's sacred rules. Vigo's expression hardens. "If they're willing to break the rules of the Continental," he says, "then double the contract. Rules exist for a reason. Breaking them always comes with a price." With the information gained at the Continental, John learns where Iosef is hiding, a high-end nightclub owned by Vigo. It's not a sanctuary, it's a fortress disguised with flashing lights, loud music, and drunk crowds moving through shadow and neon. Outside the nightclub at night, John watches from the shadows. Through the dim lights, he sees Iosef's bodyguards moving in the VIP entrance. The entrance is tightly guarded. Standing at the gate is John's old friend, unaware that John is nearby. Inside the basement pool area, Iosef is laughing and having fun with his friends, splashing in the water and joking loudly. The atmosphere is loud and carefree,
the music thumping through the club. From outside, his personal bodyguard approaches the pool area to check on him. Iosef, in his usual playful arrogance, lifts a bottle and offers him a drink. The bodyguard shakes his head. No. Iosef smirks, teasing him. Why, you scared of the boogeyman? The guard straightens, replying quietly, almost to himself, I'm not scared. Then, in a swift motion, he grabs the bottle from Iosef and mutters, but you should be scared. Iosef's face twists with anger. He slams his hand on the pool's edge, his voice snapping as he shouts to his friend nearby, Get me another bottle. John slips inside, moving silently behind his friend at the gate. With a swift, practiced motion, he presses the gun lightly at the back of his friend's head. Hello, John says softly. Then, leaning close, he whispers, Take the night off. I've got this. His friend freezes for a second, then nods. Thanks, he whispers back. John moves past him, unseen by anyone else, melting into the shadows of the club as the quiet tension follows him like a shadow.
We see Viggo coming out of the church. John shoot one of his men down. What follows is a violent exchange. Viggo's men swarm, guns drawn, hopes high that overwhelming force might succeed where skill could not, but John cuts through them with terrifying focus. Viggo's men hit John with the car and he went unconscious. They then took him with them. Viggo talked to John. He said that you try to get out from this life, but this life follow us. We are cursed, you and I. So this life I take thanks for 'em. You and me, in your case that was your wife, and in my case that's my son. John said to him, Viggo, you step aside and give me your son. Viggo refuses and order his men to kill the boogeyman. In the meantime, Marcus shot one of the guard down from the distance and saved John. Viggo manages to escape amid the chaos, shouting orders as he retreats, leaving his burning empire behind him. John continues the chase. He tracks Viggo's movements. Every step he takes tightens the noose. Viggo realizes there is nowhere left to hide. He orders his men to relocate Iosef to a secret safe house, a location only a handful of people know, but secrets don't last long when John Wick is the one searching for them. He caught Viggo and interrogates him, not with cruelty, but with precision. John doesn't torture for pleasure, he simply extracts what he needs with the quiet pressure of a man determined to end something terrible. Viggo gave out Iosef's location to John in exchange of his own life. When he learns where Iosef is hiding, he wastes no time. The safe house sits far from the city's glow, guarded by armed men who believe numbers protect them, but numbers mean nothing to John Wick. He arrives at night, slipping through shadows like a figure carved from darkness. The guards don't see him until it's too late. Gunfire erupts, quick and deadly. John advances with the rhythm of a man carving his way through inevitability. Every movement is seamless, a blend of instinct and mastery. The guards fall one by one, some never even seeing the face of the man ending them. Inside the compound, Iosef panics. He screams for more guards, more weapons, more protection, but the truth is there's nothing left to protect him. John stalks through hallways, kicking open doors, eliminating resistance without slowing down. He reaches Iosef at last. The young man whimpers, begging, crying, trying to buy time with promises he has no intention of keeping. He claims ignorance, claims it was just a car, just a dog, just a mistake. But John does not raise his voice. He does not explain himself. He does not need to. His silence is enough. The confrontation ends swiftly. John doesn't drag it out. There is no speech, no dramatic pause, no hesitation. The man who destroyed the last piece of Helen's memory falls, and in that moment, the longest, darkest part of John's journey ends.
News of Eosef's death reaches Vigo. John reaches to the Continental to finally check out. The receptionist gives him a car key, a gift from the management as a compensation for the last night incident. But the war is far from over. Vigo is still alive, and the choices he made cannot be undone. When he learns his son is gone, his grief turns into something cold and deadly. He gathers his remaining men, fueling himself with rage, ready to face John even if it means his own death. He knows he can't run anymore, and John knows there's only one thing left to finish. John drives back into the city, the night thick and silent. His body aches, his wounds burn, but his spirit remains unbroken. He has come too far to stop now. The final chapter of this vengeance is written in the streets ahead, and both men know that when dawn arrives, only John came to meet his friend Marcus to thank him for saving his life. He tells his friend that he is going to retire. Marcus replies, "Do you really believe that?" Because he knows that Vigo is not going to sit quietly without taking his revenge. We see Miss Perkins spying on John. He sees him with Marcus. Vigo captures Marcus. He calls John at the same time. John was on the call, listening to everything happening. They beat Marcus, interrogate him. He tried to fight back, kill tow guards. Miss Perkins shoot him without hesitation, and Marcus died. John come to see him, but it was too late. The friend who saved John's life is no more. John couldn't save him. We see Miss Perkins receiving a call, a man tell her to meet at a location. When she went there, a group surround her, and a man tell her that her membership has been revoked, and they shoot her for breaking the rules. Rules are made to protect, not to break. That same man who called Miss Perkins calls John and give him Vigo location. This is no longer about a dog or a car. This is about the cost of taking peace from a man who earned it with blood, the cost of awakening the part of him that should have been left alone. John Wick moves forward, ready for the final confrontation, ready to end what began on a night filled with broken glass and a single unforgivable mistake. The city feels heavier now, as if it understands the weight of what is coming. Word spread through back alleys and underground corridors that Eosef Tarasov is dead, and the man responsible is still out there, still moving with relentless purpose. Every criminal, every mercenary, every shadow-dwelling figure whispers one name with icy respect: John Wick. Vigo Tarasov's helicopter is being fueled up. He is planning to escape from the man because he knows that John is coming for him. His empire is crumbling, his secrets burned, his money scattered to the wind, and his only son, the heir to everything he built, is gone. Rage mixes with sorrow in a way he never believed possible. But beneath that rage is something far more powerful: acceptance. He knows this was inevitable. He knows who John Wick is. He knows this war was decided the moment Eosef stepped into John's home and crossed a line no one crosses and lives. Vigo gathers the last of his loyal men. These are not just guards, they are soldiers who have stood with him through decades of crime and conflict. They know John Wick is coming. Some show fear, others try to hide it behind grim determination. Vigo tells them there is no turning back, no more running, there is only the last stand. John drives through the empty city streets, the engine humming like a controlled heartbeat. Rain begins to fall lightly across the windshield, blurring the neon lights into streaks of color. His mind revisits Helen's smile, her voice, her touch, all the moments that turned his life into something worth living. He thinks of Daisy, the small heartbeat that kept him afloat after Helen was gone. The pain sharpens his focus, but does not control him. It simply guides him forward. He arrives at Aurelio's shop, the trusted friend who originally restored his car. Aurelio watches John step inside, sees the bruises on his face, the cuts on his arms, the exhaustion in his eyes. But Aurelio also sees the fire still burning behind them. He doesn't ask questions. He knows better than to speak.
Instead, he offers his support in a quiet nod, the kind of gesture shared by two men who've lived long, hard lives and understand the realities of vengeance. John readies his gear once more, guns checked, ammunition loaded, jacket tightened. He looks at himself in the mirror, not to admire, not to judge, but to face what he has become again. A figure shaped by grief, by violence, by a world that never allowed him a peaceful ending. He takes a deep breath and walks out. He tracks Viggo's movements to a dockyard on the outskirts of the city, a place where shipping containers rise like silent giants and cranes loom high over the water. It's an industrial graveyard of steel and shadows, perfect for a final confrontation. Viggo knows the terrain, his men are positioned strategically, but John Wick has walked into worse scenarios and survived. He is not deterred. As John approaches, Viggo's men open fire. Bullets rip through the night, echoing across metal walls. John dives behind a container, returning fire with deadly accuracy. Each shot he takes finds its mark. The firefight erupts into chaos, shouts, gunshots, metal ringing with impact. Rain pours harder now, turning the ground slick and reflecting flashes of muzzle fire. John moves with speed and precision. Every movement is intentional, every turn calculated. He uses cover, angles, shadows. Viggo's men fall one after another, no matter how desperate their resistance. John advances deeper into the maze of containers, wiping away an entire squad with the calm brutality of a man who has already accepted the cost of his mission. Viggo watches from a distance, knowing the outcome before the last man hits the ground, but he refuses to run. He steps forward with his own weapon drawn, meeting John in the open. The rain drenches both men, turning them into silhouettes beneath the dim industrial lights. Viggo shouts above the storm, asking John if this is what Helen would have wanted. The question hangs in the air for a moment. John's expression doesn't change. He knows Helen would never want violence, never want No one notices him at first, but cameras do. Security does. Soon they alert Viggo's men that the storm has arrived. Inside the club, the music pulses like a heartbeat. The air is thick with sweat, perfume, and tension. John moves through the crowd calmly, scanning each hallway, each staircase, each guarded door. He sees Iosef surrounded by bodyguards, drinking, dancing, unaware that death walks only a few feet behind him. John moves with quiet precision, each step calculated, each motion lethal. The first of Iosef's friends doesn't even see him coming before he hits the ground, incapacitated. The second friend turns just in time to catch a glimpse of John standing mere feet away. With a swift, practiced strike, John takes him down, forcing him to the floor. "Where is Iosef?" John demands, his voice cold and unyielding. The friend hesitates, refusing to give up any information. Without a word, John strikes again, relentless. The second hit drives the point home, and the friend finally breaks. "He's in the basement, by the pool," he gasps. The music of the club blasts relentlessly, masking the chaos John leaves in his wake. One by one, Iosef's guards fall before his precise strikes, taken down before they even realize he's there. At first, the crowd doesn't notice, the energy of the party drowning out the violence. But the security cameras catch him, and suddenly the word spreads through the club like wildfire. One of Iosef's guards spots him directly, and they clash violently, exchanging blows in the middle of the chaos. By now, there's no denying it. The boogeyman has arrived. Every eye in the club turns toward John, fear and awe spreading like a wave through the basement. John chases Iosef through steam-filled baths and glowing corridors. Iosef slips, stumbles, begs his guards to protect him, but his guards fall faster than he can plead. John gets within reach,
almost close enough to end it right there, but an explosion of movement and gunfire forces John off course. Iosef escapes into the night, with his men dragging him away. One of the guard fight John. He hit John with the bottle on his head and throw him down. John laying down, he instantly takes his gun out and kill that guard. Now John stands in the dripping hallway, his breath steady, his mind cold. He reloads as bodies lie around him. He doesn't curse, he doesn't shout, he simply resets, because this isn't over. Not until the man who destroyed the last piece of Helen's memory is gone. Back at headquarters, Vigo rages at the failure, but beneath the rage is undeniable fear. He knows John will try again. He knows the walls he builds will fall one by one, and he knows that his son is living on borrowed time. John returns to the hotel, wounded and moving with quiet determination. The receptionist looks up immediately. "How can we help you, Mr. Wick?" he asks. John's eyes scan the lobby briefly before he replies. "Is the doctor available?" "Of course," he says, his voice calm and professional. He offers John a drink. In his hotel room, John sits silently as the doctor tends to his wounds, carefully cleaning and stitching them. John glances at the doctor. "Will I be able to move?" he asks. The doctor meets his gaze steadily. "Yes, your stitches won't break. You'll bleed, but not feel the real pain. The real pain won't be gone, but it won't stop you." The world that thought John Wick was gone is now learning a lesson carved in blood. You don't take a man's peace. You don't steal his hope. You don't kill his future, not unless you're prepared to face the consequences. And the consequences are coming. They're coming fast. They're coming for everyone who stands in his way. They are named John Wick. Vigo knows the nightclub attack was only the beginning. He knows John won't stop until the last thread of this wrong has been cut. Desperation makes men foolish, and Vigo begins calling in every favor, every contract, every assassin who might even attempt to slow John down. Most refuse, some hesitate, a few accept, driven by greed or pride. But even they do so with trembling hands. John stays the night at the Continental, knowing that the sanctuary rules keep him safe for a few short hours. But safety means nothing in his world. Safety is temporary. Purpose is not. He sleeps lightly, gun within reach, mind alert even when his eyes are closed. As dawn breaks, an assassin breaks the sacred rules. Perkins enters John's room quietly, thinking she will earn a fortune by killing him in his sleep. Meanwhile, John's friend Marcus shoots through his sniper at the same time Perkins enters his room. The sniper shot wake him up. John countering Perkins' attack with swift precision. The fight is brutal, silent, a struggle between two trained killers who know every trick in the book. Lamps crash, furniture breaks, grunts echo off cold walls. John overpowers her, pinning her to the ground. She breathes heavily, trying to mask her fear. He spares her life only because he needs information, where Vigo has gone, how tightly Iosef is protected, where the next move must be made. She gives him what he needs, though not willingly. When she's restrained and unable to escape, John leaves her for the Continental staff to deal with, knowing she broke the rules, and that breaking rules in this world carries its own sentence. Armed with new information, John heads out into the city. The streets feel colder now, as though the world itself is bracing for what's coming. He drives with determination, his eyes fixed on the road, his mind calculating. He arrives at a small church owned by Vigo, a place disguised as a place of worship. Inside, it hides cash, documents, weapons, everything Vigo needs to run his empire. John enters without hesitation, walking past startled men who try to block his path.
He moves through them with an efficiency that borders on terrifying. Every movement is deliberate, every strike controlled. He reaches the vault hidden behind the altar. He sets fire to the stacks of money, the files, the secrets. Flames roar upward. When Vigo gets word of it, he arrives with his men, fury burning in his eyes. John waits for him calmly. Low. In the meantime, we see Miss Perkins.
The thunder rolls, masking the final struggle as John ends it. Vigo collapses, finally still, finally quiet. For a long moment, John stands in the rain, the weight of everything pressing down on him. His wounds bleed, his breath shakes. The adrenaline begins to fade, replaced by the ache of survival. He looks at the night sky, covered in storm clouds, and imagines Helen there, somewhere above, untouched by the cruelty of the world below. His legs weaken, but he forces himself forward. He took a car and drive toward the harbor's edge, where small buildings line the water. Now they show us the scene from the beginning of the story, where he is lying unconscious on the ground. He hears Helen's voice from the video and regains consciousness. His legs weaken, but he forces himself forward.